Alright guys, what we have here is the fuel system I plan on installing in my Daytona. This is something I've worked on for a while, trying to decide what I wanted to do. I really wanted to keep the original fuel cell that came with the car. I believe that's an 83 to 97 fuel tank. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that is I want to build a box that goes under there and kind of takes up that extra space where the fuel tank is not. So I have a little bit of storage inside the car that's kind of hidden and tucked away. I was seriously considering a fuel cell, but then I'd lose that space. And I kind of like the way the one that's in there fits in there, and kind of like the idea of having a little bit of storage. But biggest problem with that is you don't get a lot of space to slide a fuel pump in there. So I went and found the biggest fuel pump I could stuff in that thing, and that would be this Holley fuel pump. It's got -6 fittings on it. And here's our part number if you want to take a look at that, if you guys are looking at it buying or putting a system like this together. This one is supposed to be able to support something a little over 1400 horsepower if you're running carbureted. It should be able to support 1200 if you run fuel injection or EFI, and it should be able to support I'm guessing right around 800 900, around something like that with E85, maybe not quite 900, but 800 I would think should be pretty substantial. But something like that. Far more than I think I'm going to need to go, but I would like to maybe see 500 horsepower to the wheels on this thing. I don't ever plan on going forced induction, but hey, you never know. Sometimes you want to go a little more and a little bigger, and well, this should get me at least part of the way there if we can't do it completely that way. But this pump here is essentially a Hellcat fuel pump. It's a 525 liter fuel pump. I don't know if this is a Marlboro. It didn't say. I don't see anywhere without taking this thing apart to find out if it is or not. It's a Holley branded fuel pump. I'm sure if I have to, I'll just be able to go pick up a Hellcat fuel pump and swap these out if there's ever an issue, which should make it fairly easy to go to any auto parts store and pick one up if there's ever an issue. If I'm gone somewhere, took the car to a track event or something like that. Hopefully this will give me the ability to obtain a little bit of flexibility and keep the car on the road if I need to. Fuel pressure regulator, gauge, fuel filter. That's a 10 micron fuel filter. Red Horse Racing. There's your part number. Here's part number on the fuel gauge, if you guys care. I want to order something like that. -8 fuel line. This is braided and has a PTFE liner in it. We've got 4 90 degrees, 1 45 degree, 2 straights, and what do we got here? 5 adapters here to go from -6 to -8. And again, you look down those, and the only difference between the -6 and the -8 fuel line, of course, this size here was the same. It's just this wall right here was thicker, making a smaller pass-through, allowing it to go to a -8. And they showed me this. I said, yep. Why go -6 when we can go -8 and everything still fits the same? We get a little more capacity, fuel flow. Never hurts to have that extra fuel line. Right here is the adapter. Goes from the -8 on this end to the fuel pressure rail on the car for the fuel injection. And I don't have a part number for that guy. They didn't give it to me. I'm sure I could find it for you if you needed it. If you guys want to ask, I'll find them. There's part numbers on the 90s that we got. 45 and a straight. And if you guys don't know what these are, they're gaskets. Sometimes these fittings will leak, or you get a burr in them or something. Throw one of those gaskets in those AN fittings. You don't have to take everything apart. You can just slide one of those guys in there. Made out of some like real soft metal. I'm not sure what it is. It probably aluminum or something like that, but it's really soft stuff. I mean, you can just crush those things in your hand if you're not careful. So I got those just in case. Hopefully we don't need them, but they'll stay in the car, stay as part of my kit if ever need one in the future. You never know when you're going to have to take these things apart and put them back together again. So I'm going to mock this system up, lay it out on the table for you. Not messing with that till I actually have to cut it. That thing's those little stainless steel fibers in there are pretty hard on your fingers. So if you guys are curious, I can show you how I cut those and deal with those. And of course, once you get this whole system put together, any fuel system's dirty. I always like to go to the back of the engine, start at the closest fitting I can get to the fuel pump, and just shoot some air through the whole fuel system. Once it's all put together, clean everything out. Try to keep everything as clean as possible. You don't want any of these debris or rubber pieces or plastic or packaging or anything getting stuck in a fuel injector. That's it's never a good day. Anyway, pause this for a minute. We'll be right back. Alright, we got this whole thing mocked up. Kind of laid it out on my workbench the way it'll be in the car. Fuel pump pressure out through the filter up to the fuel pressure regulator supply to the engine, and then a return in blue all the way back. Amazing how many fittings we had laid out there, and once we get them all mocked up, how few it really looks like. You can see we even missed one fitting right here. I have to go get one more straight fitting so I can get this thing completed, but that's a little quick mock-up of what everything will look like, and we'll start putting this thing on the car so you guys can see what she looks like. Start with this fuel pressure regulator. I think I was going to take this guy here and put it up here just about like this or something like this here, and of course that one fitting will be turned up, and I think I'm going to put a couple of nut certs in there and bolt that guy up so we can take it on and off if I ever have to. I don't know that I'll ever have to, but I don't know, maybe it just feels a little comforting to be able to take it off if I ever need to, or get easy access to it. Who knows, maybe it'll serve me well a little sooner than later, but it's about where we're going to put that fuel pressure regulator. I'm going to go get some nut certs, put them in there, mock that guy up, and see where we land. Alright, you can see we're back here another day. Been working on this fuel system for a few hours today or tonight or early in the morning, I guess. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. But got most of this fuel system done. You see I got this mocked up. I got my fuel pressure regulator mocked up where I want it to be here. And then this is the other end of the other fuel line fitting. This will be my last fitting we're going to get set up. And I thought I'd show you guys how I'm putting these PTFE fittings together. But first thing I wanted to do is I got this fitting here already assembled and on here. It's just kind of loose. Doesn't have to be tight, but it's in the right position. It's about where I want it to be. And got the one fitting on here. All the remainder of my hose, there was 20 feet of that hose. It looks like we're going to use most of it. I figured I was going to use about 18 feet. We'll see how close I am to that when we get finished up, but looks like I might be pretty close to that. I figured between 16 and 18 feet. I was going to get 18 feet to be safe. 16 feet might not have been enough. But show you how we mock these guys up. Like I said, this fitting's all set up. I'm going to run this fitting over to here, get it where I want it, and this hose kind of has a natural twist to it already, and with I'm going to use that to my advantage in this case. You can see I got it twisted back the other way now, so it's curled up the way direction I want it. It's about where I want this fitting hose to run, and I'm going to measure to where I'm going to need to cut this hose. I'm going to take a piece of tape and mark that so it doesn't move on me, and I got a piece of tape right here, and I'm going to put that right about there, and that way I know I'm going to have to cut to this side of that piece of tape here. You see it lines up pretty good with the back fitting right here, and you'll see when I put one of these together that should be really close. So I got another camera set up on my workbench, and we'll give this a shot. I might have to do a voiceover or something to make that work and look good, but we'll put on a little safety equipment and discuss all the pieces and parts that go into getting these fittings on here right and the way I did it, because there's a little bit of a learning curve, and this isn't the first time I've done it. I did it on another car a few years ago, my old Mustang, but this stuff is a little bit different. You see this hose here has a kind of a rubber coating on it, and if you look at the end of it, the stainless steel braid is underneath the metal, or is underneath that rubber coating, and then you can see the PTFE liner inside of there, and just created another learning curve that I had to figure out. Anyway, we'll see how this transfers from the other camera I've got set up. Hopefully it works out well for you. Alright guys, here I am at my other camera. Got my workbench laid out. I don't normally have a towel down like this, but let's get too much reflection off the top of this thing, so making it look funny. But we've got some tools set here. Just got a regular wrench, kind of a crescent wrench here, snap-off blade, Sharpie, and a little screwdriver. I also have my fitting here that was on the card you saw earlier. I'll take this guy apart. You can see I already put anti-seize on these threads. I like to do that anytime I have aluminum threads involved. And this little ferrule, or they call it an olive, I guess. So that's there. And in that fitting, got my hose here ready to go, other fittings on it. We'll go ahead and cut this thing. Anytime we're using tools that have a rotary action to them, or power tools, you don't want to tuck anything away that is hanging down. Protect your eyes. Put those guys on there. And I know for this kind of tool here, this little cordless cutoff, this might not be enough. They call these things death blades for a reason. But we're going to go ahead and cut this. And I like to use this to cut these hoses like this, because they have that stainless steel wire in them. I think this makes a nice clean cut. And I know it leaves a little bit of dust and stuff in there, but we'll show you how we take care of that in a little bit here. Go ahead and get this guy cut. Okay, pretty nice, decent, clean cut there. There's a few different ways to do this. That's just the way I've decided I like. You can get those cutters that'll cut it like that, but I think they leave a lot of these little wires hanging out. Makes them hard to deal with. They make lots of different versions of this tubing as well. Like I said, this one's got a rubber coating on it. Proved harder for me to deal with than normal. The other ones I did had a nylon weave on them out here. That was pretty easy to deal with, and when you want to cut those, you just want to wrap a piece of tape around it, cut it through the tape, so that when that nylon, when you cut through that nylon, it doesn't just expand out, because you'll see you want to take this fitting here and slide it on that hose. Now I got a pair of these soft jaws here from my vise. These are proven to work well and seen lots of use, and I'm going to use it again here. I'm going to take this fitting here, slide it on here, slide it on this hose like this, and I kind of wedge it on there. It'd be a little hard to deal with. You guys can see is those, if you're gonna have a piece of tape on there, this rubber coating, and these little wires spread out, that could be real hard to put on, which is why people like to use a tape. They'll wrap a little bit of electrical tape around there, and then they'll cut that. And it makes it easier to deal with. But in this case, I don't have that problem. I use my snap-off blade. Because I have this rubber coating, I need this to be able to expand out a little bit. I'm going to go down about 3/8 of an inch and cut that in 4 approximately equal spots around this tubing here. About 3/8 of an inch down. And then I'm going to take this little screwdriver here. I'm going to wedge it in here between the PTFE here and inside that metal braid. I'm going to open that up a little bit. I'll wedge that in there. Try not to damage that PTFE liner. That's what we paid all that money for. Okay, my PTFE liner, there's that metal stainless steel braid, and then the rubber protective coating right here on the outside. Which is kind of nice, it keeps it from damaging stuff on the car. Take this, they call it an olive here, and you'll see there's a little lip inside of here. Alright, we're back. Had some camera issues, it shut off on me. I think we ran out of memory there. But got this ferrule already down there, seated. I'm going to take this little end here. It's going to slip inside of that fitting there, inside of that PTFE fitting, or sleeve. Just like that. And then, hopefully, I got down far enough, maybe not. I'm going to start fitting this thing. No, I don't have it down far enough yet. Let me get this collar up here a little bit further. Double check that, it's starting to grab. Double check that sleeve. Double check that olive or that ferrule. Get those threads start to grab. And there's quite a bit of stress on these. Another reason to put that anti-seize on there. Grab both of these here, and I kind of like these monkey wrenches here because I can tighten it, loosen it. Hopefully I can do this without scratching it too much. Just work that in there. I like to try and make these fittings line up. There we go. Alright. Take that out of there. Take my soft jaw out of there. Make it a little easier to take this apart. You see it's not perfect. A couple little marks on there, and this is where the marker comes in. In this case I got black. I got lucky with this. More concerned about the function. I'll make sure this is safe. Unfortunately I got this on a little bit here, but we can touch these up. If you guys want, you get like a little bit of paint, spray it into a cup from a spray can. Use a little fine tip paint brush. You can touch these up that way too. If you need to, you can add a little thinner in there to make it thin out so it runs and smooths out a little better. You get a paint pen too, I suppose. But paint out of a spray can, spray it in the lid, and you probably put a satin or a gloss on there. By the time you're done, nobody should be able to tell. Okay, we'll go back over to the car. See how this guy fits on there. Oh, no, one more thing, it's kind of nice. You see these ends swivel around a little bit, even after it's tight. So you don't have to worry about making sure the curve is the right direction or anything like that. In this case, I'm going to take advantage of this natural curve in this hose because it was coiled up pretty tight, and I'm going to put that to use in my case so I can turn these to fit in there the way I want. And clean this up with a little bit of rag, get any excess anti-seize off of there. We all know how that stuff goes. But I'll take one more shot of this when I got it all fitted up there, and then we'll move on to the next project on the car. I do have some fittings, some clamps here that I'm not going to show you guys because I just don't have enough hands to control the camera and zip those clamps on. I'm not sure you'd be able to see if I'd be able to get a camera in there so you could see it anyway. But I'm going to clamp these hoses down so they're not rattling around in the car and moving or vibrating or rubbing on anything, because I'll tell you what, this coating's pretty heavy and thick, but if it wears through, you touch this on any other metal, that stainless steel braided line will chew up just about anything it touches. So I like to keep this as secure as possible. Plus, who wants all that stuff vibrating around in their car anyway? But take one more quick shot of this when we're done with this here. Hopefully I can stitch all these broken up parts of this video together and make a decent video out of this. Alright guys, there it is. That last section of hose I got fit in there. Fits in there pretty nice. All these fittings are still loose. We'll wait to deal with all these until I get ready to pressurize the system. Normally, I wouldn't recommend leaving any nuts or bolts loose on a vehicle. You put it on, you always tighten it up so it's ready to go. But this whole fuel line system is loose. I still got to secure this fuel pressure regulator. It's a little loose here. Got a couple nut certs there holding it into place, but unfortunately, I did not have all the screws I wanted to put that in there. I'm missing a screw right there. So I still got to get that screw in there, so this is just loose. It's all just finger tight. The whole system through and through. And I also still got to get those ties in there, so I might have to take this apart a little bit to get this fixed up and finished up. But pretty nice fit. There's the front of it. Let's see, supply all the way from this side all the way through, all the way up to the fuel rails on the engine, all the way over here. There's that goofy little fitting that we had to get there that goes from the A-end fittings to the fuel rail. And then you can see the return down there on the bottom, kinda. Right down in there, there's my return line. It goes all the way back down the center of the car. Over here to the back. Comes in here, ties into the back. You can see I got two loose fuel lines here. Like I said, we're going to tie these up. There's my fuel filter. And I may or may not find a better way to secure this. I wasn't sure how this fuel filter was going to fit in here. And I think once I get this all put together, I'm going to put a pan in this area. So I got a little bit extra storage back here. I don't know if you guys watch too many of these guys. Some of these guys build some extra space. You can put some storage in here when they don't use a fuel cell. They use the original stock style fuel tank. I'm going to build a box and do that. So once I put this top plate on here and start riveting things down, I'll put a little door in here to access that. I'll put another one in here to access this fuel filter if I ever need to get to it. So hopefully I don't have to go digging around underneath the car and dealing with it that way. That'd be a huge pain in the ass. You know, I'll probably make it a little bigger just so I can access this. And I'm going to have a piece of carpet over this so it'll all be covered up. And I'll have one more that goes down here. Of course, this is in the way here. So I can access this sending unit here. And there's a fuel pump in its place. So we still got lots of wiring to do. You guys can see that's all loose. But one step closer to a running, driving car. And then we got to deal with body work after that. But my spaghetti mess up there And maybe my next video will be this dash we got going on here, this little plate that I made. And I got some Alcantara type fabric to put up here. And I got a sheet of carbon fiber and make a switch panel out of for this spot here, right here, and a bezel for it. So I got plenty of carbon fiber to do some other accents there. Maybe we'll do a glove box door here too as well. Get to that one of these days. And I don't know, we'll see if there's some other spots in the car we can't add some carbon fiber accents. Maybe we'll throw one in the center of the steering wheel, or do some door panels out of it or something like that, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, till the next video. I know this one took a long time to get out there to you guys. I did some other videos, and last time you saw this, it didn't even have an engine in there. I did some video clips of that, but it was a little hard. I did this thing all by myself, put this engine in by myself without any help, and I wouldn't recommend it. You can see there I scratched up the paint a little bit, even though I had towels and down to protect it all. So whole bunch of hard work that already has to be repaired. But I did get this in there by myself. Can be done. If you guys are working by yourself, you don't have anybody out here to help you out, put the rear independent rear suspension system in this car. I've done pretty much everything by myself except hang this body from the ceiling. I did have some guys come over here, some friends come over here and help me do that. But just so you know, it can be done by yourself. This thing went in there pretty crooked, and I think that'll be in one of the clips if I can get some of those videos out. And it went in there crooked, so what I did is I put a jack under this side of the car, jacked this whole side of the car up, made the whole car crooked so I could slide the motor and transmission in there crooked. And once it was bolted up, I dropped it all back down, and it was all nice and secured for me. So just an after work project, something I've been doing. Wiring harness and stuff. This has probably been my biggest thing, trying to get figured out. That's been a fight. Ford changed up that harness a little bit, and nobody had the right harnesses, and I think I'm up to 5 manuals at this point. I have one in the book that covers it if you're pulling an old Fox body apart and you're using that harness. That's mostly what that covers. Then you got a supplement for the Coyote install. That has a whole nother wiring harnesses and diagrams in it that go with that. Then when you get the harness, you got a separate harness for that, which is this one that comes with the install kit from Factory 5, which I had to order. Get that in here separate. So there's a separate wiring manual for that one. And that didn't answer all my questions because this harness is a little bit different. Ford's updated them. And a lot of the information in the other wiring harnesses are probably more associated with the MK4 and 5 Roadsters, and they don't really cover the Coupe in a lot of cases. A lot of the pictures are from those cars. You can tell they're not from this Coupe, so lots of confusion there. Went onto the Ford website, pulled up the harness that they were supposed to send me. Found out that I had some extra leads on here that didn't match up that harness. I had to call them. And they finally got me dialed in after looking at two other additional wiring manuals. They got me dialed in and found out that this is I think it's the 5.2 liter harness that they sent me, because they're trying to condense down their harnesses and stuff, and so they're not making so many different harnesses, and that harness will work for this engine too. So they're trying to phase out some of the old harnesses so they don't have as many things in their inventory. So when they sent me this harness, I've got, what do we got here? Obviously the mass airflow sensor here, or a map sensor I think we got instead. There is a intercooler pump lead here. There is a intercooler temperature lead here. There's an intake air temperature lead here, which you don't use if you have a map sensor, or I'm sorry, not a map sensor, That's map sensor. But if you use the mass airflow sensor, you also need an intake air temperature sensor, so we won't be using this one. And then we have an ambient air temperature sensor here as well, which didn't come with the kit. I went down to my local hardware or hard parts store, picked that one up at O'Reilly's. So I have all these leads on here, and I noticed that in my instruction manuals I only had 4 leads and this one had 5, so I knew I didn't have the right stuff. So this whole wiring thing has really thrown me for a loop. And just in case any of you guys are wondering, I looked this guy up here too. You notice it's got white wire with a brown stripe and a green wire. And I looked it up on the FFR forums, and everybody says they don't know what it is, but they know that you don't use it. So I did a little more digging because I was curious, and I found out that this right here, you look it up, green is ground, and the white with the brown stripe is usually power on when the ignition comes on. So this is some kind of power supply to maybe another sensor or something else that could go into this harness, or who knows, but that's another power supply. I'm going to take a big piece of shrink wrap, wrap this guy up and seal it up so no water can get in here, just in case there's a way to use that later in the future. And I'm just going to warm it up and squeeze the ends tight so it gets all tight on there. If I ever have to, I can cut it off in the future, and I can leave this thing in here and I'll just tuck it down in here. As for this, I got, what, 3 leads on here I'm never going to use. They're not used anymore. I will probably take this harness partly apart, and I will take all this wrapping off, and I will fold these back into the harness so they'll all be tucked in up and under here. And again, I'll cover up all these ends. I know a lot of these guys probably just cut these things off and never need them. I would like to leave the option available in the future, so if I ever decide I want to put a supercharger on here, maybe I'll put these plugs to use. If not, they'll just be tucked back into that harness, and they'll be all wedged back in here, and hopefully they won't notice. They won't show anymore. But nice big wiring mess here going on for sure. Lots of spaghetti. So that's been lots of fun. That's why I haven't posted any videos, because this thing has been throwing me for a loop, let me tell you. But I'm slowly getting it sorted out. So we'll see you guys on the next one.